Okay, I think we should start. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fatima, and we are excited to have you here as we dive into the world of Microsoft Cloud Security Stack. I'll be your host, and I'll be the moderator of this session. So, we are thrilled to bring you to this insightful discussion where we will be exploring how to maximize your Microsoft licenses while ensuring your cloud environment remains secure. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me right now.
I can hear you, Fatma.
Thank you very much. Okay, so before we begin, let me go over a few housekeeping items. This session will last around 45 to 60 minutes. We encourage you to drop your questions in the chat at any time. We'll address them in the Q&A session after Asad's presentation. And this session is being recorded and we'll share the takeaways after the webinar. Okay, our expert speaker for today, Mr. Asad Sofi, will take us through the best practices and a deep dive into Microsoft security capabilities. But before we jump to today's topic, I'd be quickly going through our profile, and I'll start now. So, Cyberways is a next generation cybersecurity company with a mission to protect organizations from cyber threats while optimizing their security investments. Our team consists of experienced cybersecurity professionals, including former Big Four consultants, who bring over 120 years of combined industry experience. With a strong presence across 5 countries, we have successfully secured over 500,000 assets through our service excellence. We operate across 5 countries with our regional headquarters, which is in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. We also have presence in Abu Dhabi and Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, and also in Cambridge in the UK. And our back offices are residing in Islamabad, Pakistan, and Chennai in India. I'd like to highlight that Cyberways is aligned with Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 and demonstrating our commitment to the regional's digital transformation journey. We are present across all industries, and this diverse experience give us valuable insights into sector-specific security challenges that enables us to tailor Microsoft security implementations to your unique industry requirements and compliance needs. What sets us apart actually is our diverse and multilingual team of security professionals who are locally based in all delivery centers. Our highly qualified specialist brings in extensive Microsoft certifications as well to adapt to your business as it evolves. And we consider ourselves security Spartans and a true extension of your team and always prioritizing your cyber health above all else. And at Cyberways, we offer a comprehensive range of cybersecurity services that covers the entire security lifecycle, from consulting and implementation to managed security services and ongoing operations. Our key focus areas include infrastructure and OT or IoT security, cyber defense, digital identity, application and data security, and of course, risk and compliance management. Each area incorporates Microsoft technologies to create a cohesive security ecosystem. Our approach spans the entire security lifecycle from consulting to implementation as well as operations. And we support organizations at any stage of their security journey from end users to distributors, vendors, and system integrators. But I'd like to first take this opportunity to proudly present to you our flagship tool, which is Swift, powered by Cyberways. which is an automated compliance and risk management platform. It simplifies control assurance, risk quantification, and supply chain monitoring while ensuring compliance with over 20 global frameworks. With real time analytics and seamless integration, Swift enhances security operations and reduces compliance costs by up to 20%. And if you want to know more about this, please don't hesitate to reach out to us as well. Now, moving on to Microsoft Cloud and Security Services capabilities of CyberWave. Um, we have different security solutions within the Microsoft scope. We are a certified cloud service provider from Microsoft, and these solutions work together to offer a proactive defense strategy, ensuring that organizations can detect, prevent, and respond to evolving cyber threats in real time. So, to take us deeper into this topic, I am honored to introduce to you our speaker today, Mr. Azad Sofi. Azad is a seasoned expert in cybersecurity with a wealth of experience in helping businesses implement Microsoft security solutions. Azad, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Padma. Thank you for the elaborated introduction and for showcasing our profile from Cyberways. Much appreciated. I hope I'm audible to the audience.
Yes,
So,
you are.
thank you for confirming. So, once again, hello and welcome everyone for today's webinar on Microsoft Security Solutions, securing your digital future. As you know, my name is Azad Sofi. I am the cloud security architect for Cyberways. Cyberways is a technology consulting firm. We are actually focused into cybersecurity plus cloud security for infrastructure services and cloud services. So I have over 15 years of experience, worked with various Fortune 500 companies, to name a few. Was part of Microsoft for a major part of my career. Worked with Deloitte, Rolls-Royce, British Telecom, so across various portfolios. But security and cybersecurity is always at the core of my work. So as we understand that businesses are continuously transforming, so a lot of digital transformation is going on from last decade. We would see, so security challenges have never been more complex. So we understand with cloud adoption, with a lot of hybrid workforce, and increase in the cyber threats have evolved. So protecting your workloads, protecting your identities, applications is very critical, more than ever, to safeguard your ecosystem, to safeguard your business. So how can we do that? As we know, most of our business runs on Microsoft ecosystems, whether it's endpoints. By endpoints, we say it's your desktops, user desktops. You're using servers for your applications. You're using Microsoft M365 services, Azure services. So it's a total Microsoft ecosystem. So why not to leverage the security services that those have been offered by Microsoft itself? So today's webinar is actually an awareness on the fundamental security services that Microsoft is already offering to us, because most of the businesses are running on subscription models. Most of the services that we have, whether it's for M365 or Azure, so it's already licensed. We have subscriptions. Those subscriptions also give us a scope on using the security services. Now we have one, at least I feel that there's a lot of awareness in the market that needs to be positioned with respect to the security solution that Microsoft has. So in today's webinar, we'll explore full Microsoft security stack. Although I would set up the expectation that this webinar will be on the fundamental blocks of the security stack. We will have detailed walk-ins, detailed webinars for different other sectors of security. But as of now, we will ensure that we cover Defender Suite, Microsoft Defender Suite, Microsoft Sentinel, basis of Microsoft Sentinel. We will cover Entra ID. We will cover Microsoft Intune and other solutions to understand how these tools will work together and protect our environment, our businesses, and help us to deal with real world use cases. And we'll also share some best practices to implement zero trust framework and understand what are the capabilities on different of these different tools. So let me just present my deck to go through the slides. Although being cognizant on the time, I think we have almost 35 to 40 minutes left. I'll be presenting my deck quickly so that we have an awareness on the solutions that we'll be presenting. So there we go. We'll be talking about Defender for Cloud, how we can leverage Defender for Cloud capabilities as a native cloud security posture management solution that Microsoft provides for your entire Azure cloud. We'll talk about Defender for Endpoint, how we can go ahead and secure our endpoints, manage them, manage their security posture, and also Defender for Cloud apps, because at the end of the day, every business is using applications which are actually a SaaS instance. uh, we'll be talking about Defender for Office 365. We are using Exchange services, we are using SharePoint, using Teams, Power BI, a lot of other applications. So we need to understand how we can secure them, because we are sharing information in and out of our corporate ecosystem through the Office 365 solutions. Also, we'll be talking about Defender for Identity. I personally like Defender for Identity, how we can go ahead and secure the identities, but how we can go ahead and we can check every endpoint that is very critical on our ecosystem or on infrastructure, who is accessing it, if there is any reconnaissance happening, domain dominance happening, or compromised credentials are being targeted. So we'll check its capabilities. We'll talk on Sentinel, how we can use Sentinel, leverage its SIEM and SOAR capabilities. We'll talk about Entra ID, its capability, and then also we'll talk about Intune. And also, we want to keep this session very interactive. So please post your questions. You're most welcome to post your questions in our chat section. We'll be taking up a Q&A session right after we are done with the deck for the security solutions. Now, to present Defender for Cloud, some background about Defender for Cloud. We must have used Windows Defender Firewall pretty long when we were like in our early career. So Microsoft built this solution. So they came up with Defender for its cloud environment. So Microsoft Defender, what it is exactly? It is actually a cloud security posture management. That means it helps your organizations to secure its posture with respect to the security compliance. What is the current evaluation of the security compliance that your infrastructure services or your PaaS services have on Azure, and how you can safeguard them, how you can include the compliance from industry regulations or the regulatory authorities, like we should be aware about GDPR, PCI DSS, and also HIPAA and other security frameworks or regulatory compliance frameworks. It's inbuilt in Defender for Cloud. So we can onboard our VMs, which are part of not just Azure, but for GCP. We can onboard workloads from AWS, VMware, or Hyper-V using Azure Arc. We know this. So we can leverage Defender for Cloud's capability as a multi-cloud cloud security posture management solution. And of course, it comes natively with your Azure. You're not paying extra money out of your pocket, but just for the subscription, those you have already paid, the service is there that Microsoft provides. A lot of DevOps related platforms could be secured. You have continuous CI/CD platforms running to build your tools or solutions. You can onboard your repos into Defender for Cloud. You can onboard containers you can onboard Kubernetes solutions, SQL PaaS instances, or SQL servers in general. So you can onboard all those solutions into Defender for Cloud, and you can have the compliance frameworks on the subscriptions that include these workloads, and you can manage and secure them. Now, what are the core capabilities Defender for Cloud? As we spoke about cloud security posture management, that is the fundamentals of Defender for Cloud. So, threat protection, vulnerability management, compliance monitoring. These are some of the basic blocks of Defender for Cloud. It analyzes the current security posture once you onboard your subscriptions into Defender for Cloud. It runs a lot of compliance evaluations. It runs a lot of policies. Those are built in into Azure. When you set up your data center, when you create a landing zone, there are prerequisites of Azure policies. It runs the evaluations and gives you the current security posture. You have to continuously work to meet the security compliances that should be targeted every quarterly. You should have an audit on the current security evaluation. So Defender for Cloud can help you to secure your cloud security posture management. Of course, Defender for Cloud is not just limited for Azure or just for Azure servers. You can include containers, as I spoke before, app services, keywords. You also have Defender for resource managers and other database resources or IoT services. You have that as well. Just to mention, we will have a webinar dedicatedly on Microsoft Copilot, including Copilot for security. That will be done after this webinar. So moving along, uh, what we are trying to understand from this slide is Defender for multi-cloud. Uh, Most of the administrators in Azure, they are using Defender for Cloud, but they can also leverage uh, Defender for Cloud capabilities for GCP, AWS, or Alibaba Cloud, or any hybrid cloud. Whether you are having your private hyperscaler or a VMware solution, you can onboard the resources from there and secure them through Defender for Cloud capabilities. Okay, so moving along, we want to discuss. Obviously, we'll take a lot of questions on Defender for Cloud. If you have, you can post it in the chat. Defender for Endpoint. Now, with a lot of I would say business is growing. You're working in a hybrid environment from the onset of COVID, or even some organizations were working in remotely before that. So we want to govern those endpoints. We want to govern the usages of our applications or systems, and how the users are connecting to our corporate network. What are their daily business transactions when they are connecting to our data endpoints. So we want to protect those endpoints which are inside our network, but also which are outside our corporate boundaries. Now, for this, we have Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Now, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, the major capability of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is to have the attack surface reduction, which we will talk about. But endpoint behavioral sensors, which are built in Windows 10, these sensors gather and process the behavioral signals from the operating system. The data is then sent to the cloud-based solution. You have a Defender admin portal. You have also Microsoft also has partnered with Qualys. You can push Qualys vulnerability management on top of VM extension into the VMs, into the workloads, and then it can sense as an EDR solution. Defender for Endpoint can bring you all the logs, and you can go ahead and have policies to manage your endpoints or to govern them. So there are some other capabilities which we want to talk about, like attack surface reduction. Now, what is attack surface reduction? Before we move into attack surface reduction, we should understand the fundamentals of the corporate security ecosystem. You have network security, you have cloud security, you have a firewall, you have perimeter security. So, what could I do possibly more to reduce this exposure of my ecosystem to external threat vectors? What we could do in terms of managing the users or the identities actually who are accessing my environment globally, so the exposure to the threat vectors is increased. Now, attack surface is the number of all possible points or attack vectors uh, where an authorized user can access the system and extract data. Now, the smaller the attack surface, the easier it is to protect. How we could do that? We could use Microsoft Defender for Endpoint to reduce the attack surface exposure, to reduce the human intervention through remote identities or app to app integration. How one application is connected to the other application, it should go through a corporate managed sanctioned app or policies. So Microsoft Defender for Endpoint has really come along from last couple of years as an actual EDR solution. And the best part is that you can have this solution as a active passive solution with any other EDR into your endpoints. Unlike before, we used to have one antivirus, so another antivirus wouldn't work. So you can have, let's say, for example, you're running Semantic as an antivirus or an EDR. You can also have MDE. You can onboard your systems to MDE and manage them as well. So automated investigation and remediation, that is one of the behavioral sensor-driven technology that MDE has. It automatically investigates any existing threat that has exploited the system. So it keeps it in the database. It evaluates for the systems for such kind of attacks in the future, and also helps them to be remediated as well as an automated remediation solution. Uh, Defender for cloud apps. Now, Defender is a umbrella of security solutions. We spoke about Defender for cloud, that is with respect to infrastructure services, Azure PaaS services, and other third party or other hyperscalers or other cloud security service providers. But Defender for cloud apps. Now, with the increase in the usage of applications, A lot of businesses are running on SaaS-based applications. A lot of Office 365 applications are used in our daily uh, businesses. We have Office 365, which has Teams, Yammer. Now, I could say that Azure is also a kind of a SaaS product of Microsoft, because we are accessing this product on the browser at the end of the day. So all these applications need to be secured. How can I secure these applications? Let us say that we have SharePoint. Let us say we have Teams. How can I secure those applications? For those, I need a solution that can actually protect those applications. It should have CASB, like cloud access security broker related functionalities. There comes Defender for cloud apps. So, combined with the employees accessing company resources outside the corporate perimeter, it also has introduced new attack vectors into the ecosystem. So, to combat these attacks efficiently, security teams need an approach. Our SOC teams, they need an approach or a solution that protects the data of the companies within cloud apps beyond the traditional scope of CASB solutions. So, Defender for Cloud App delivers full protection for SaaS applications and helps you monitor your cloud app and data. Also, there are some other features of this solution. App-to-app protection. At the end of the day, a user's intervention is to have an application authenticated for its for the business purpose, but that application may be leveraging an action with some other database or some any other application. So both these applications should have communication in a secure way. I should have policies. I should have procedures in place to have an app-to-app protection in place. Also, as a security posture management software security posture management solution, I can leverage Defender for cloud apps. And also it helps us in information protection. Sensitive data which is going in and out of your organization through these applications, you can protect them, you can govern them, you can have application policies in place for such applications which are connected on the cloud. Okay, moving on, Microsoft Defender XDR is also one of the solutions that Microsoft Defender has to provide. Now, we spoke about MDR. MDR, we spoke about EDR. But what is XDR? Now, XDR here refers to extended detection and response. So we had EDR solutions which were detecting and responding to the threats, but Microsoft Defender is an automated extended detection and response. It's a unified pre and post breach enterprise defense suite. When you talk about pre and post breach, what it means that it has behavioral sensors that just not only investigate, they detect and they respond to the threats for the endpoints, identities, or let us say emails or any application to provide integrated protection against sophisticated threats. So Microsoft Defender XDR helps security teams to detect the threats in their organization by using a lot of integrations from other security solutions. Like it is integrated to MDE, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. It's integrated to Microsoft Office 365, Defender Office 365, and Microsoft Defender for Identity and other solutions. So holistically, it brings data from all these solutions in one single pane, and you can leverage its capabilities for various XDR mechanisms. I think I spoke about its features already. So let's move on to Defender for Office 365. We all are using Office 365, whether you tell it as Office 365 or M365. It's one of the ecosystems of Microsoft. Its services or solutions are spanning not just from Exchange or Teams or SharePoint. We have a lot of solutions in Office 365. So, and these solutions are paid out. Okay, we have a subscription model, whether you are using E3, you are using E5 or business standard or premium. You are purchasing these services to run your business, even if you are hybrid or cloud only uh, s- corporation. So you are communicating through Office 365 services in and out of your business. You're using emails, so you're sending attachments. You have SharePoint. So you have uploaded a lot of documents, you're sharing those documents in and out of your organization. So you have other solutions like Teams. Now Teams is one of the bigger platforms. You're just not using it for calls and collaboration or chat, but it's becoming a marketplace day by day. So a lot of applications are integrated with Teams. So how can you make sure these applications or documents or emails or other business communication is protected, that you're using through Microsoft Office 365? So you have Defender for Office 365. It's an inbuilt solution. You can go to the portal security.microsoft.com. You can see there is a Defender solution already integrated to Office 365 apps. So whenever you are setting up your by the way, there are basic phishing policies already in place, but you can customize them. So whenever there is any kind of a threat that is either detected or investigated, you can use Office 365 threat hunting policies, or you can use attack simulation training. You can use automated investigation and response, and you can tackle those threats. You can safeguard your environment through its capabilities. Now, Microsoft Defender for Identity, like you have Office 365 applications, which are main, or you have Microsoft Defender for cloud apps. So we have secured till now Azure platform, we have secured Office 365 applications and cloud apps. But what am I doing about the identities? Identities meaning, what am I doing about the critical uh, user accounts or domain accounts? What am I doing about my critical workloads in place? Let's say, for example, you have domain controllers, you have other application servers, you have SCCM system or any business critical web system. So how are you going to secure that in terms of managing their attack surface? How can you make sure that they have been accessed properly and no third party threat vector is aligned or trying to explore access onto those systems? So there comes Microsoft Defender for Identity. Now, what does it help us with? It helps us to actually identify suspicious activities across the cyber attack kill chain. That means if a system is critical, let us say, for example, we have a critical domain controller, it has a tier 2 account logged in, which is your domain admin. And that domain admin account credentials are about to be compromised because it's not a secure credential set. So there could be reconnaissance, there could be compromised credential, and that could actually lead to lateral movement. How lateral movement is done, we could see from this slide. Let's say, for example, we have a finance server. It's a critical endpoint on our infrastructure. It's been logged in by admin John. Now admin John is a domain administrator. It's a tier 2 account. And we are seeing that this system is also joined to the domain, and it has a domain channel to the domain controller. Okay, there's a secure channel, but there is a call user that is reported to be trying to log in or authenticate to finance server. Now call user, it's identified as suspicious account. There's a brute force attack that this user is trying to send to this server. So if the brute force attack is successful, it will go ahead and compromise the credentials of admin John. Now, if your admin John credential as a tier 2 account is compromised, your entire domain could be compromised, and there could be domain dominance by this call user or any suspicious user whose brute force attack is successful. So to manage that, or to have an attack uh, being tackled, you can use Microsoft Defender for Identity. You can integrate it to your domain controllers as an agent. You just install an agent, and there is a concept of honey token. It's very nice. It actually lures the user, like call user, who thinks that he is actually compromising the credentials of actual domain administrator, but it's actually a honey token that we feed to him, and we safeguard our domain admin credentials in that process. Now, Microsoft Entra ID. Microsoft Entra ID is okay. Before we move to Microsoft Entra ID, I hope that just audible, just confirming once again. Uh, Fatima, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much for the confirmation. So, Microsoft Entra ID, it was formerly known as Azure AD. It's at the end of the day a SaaS product that Microsoft developed as a cloud directory for connecting a business from on-premise to cloud. Now, let us say that it is fundamental for every business to have an Entra ID directory or Azure AD directory in cloud, whether they want to connect or sync their identities from on-premise to cloud in M365 or in Azure. They want to leverage Azure capabilities. They want to sync from on-premise systems into the cloud instances. You need Entra ID. Without Entra ID, no cloud could be actually run. It's actually your fundamental directory in cloud. Now, what does it help us with? Entra ID helps us basically, first of all, to manage the identities. Whether you create the identities in cloud, when we talk about identities, we are talking about user bases. But it's not limited to user bases. You can also manage your devices. You can have device registration into cloud. You can manage those devices in cloud and then have Intune policies on top of the device that have been registered into cloud. But talking from the security perspective, what are the capabilities of Entra ID? Right from syncing your identities into cloud, you can, on top of that, you can have multi-factor policies, you can have conditional access policies, you can have PIM. But most of these services come with a particular subscription or they come with a particular license. Entra ID is free for around 500 users, but if you 500 identities, but if your ecosystem is beyond that, you need to go for a P1 or P2 plans to have services like privileged identity management or passwordless authentication or identity governance and compliance. What is the feature that sets Entra ID different than any other, you would say, solution, an IAM or an IGA solution, like you have SailPoint and other solutions in the market? It's its capability of managing B2B services or B2C services. So what can I do with Entra ID? I can sync my on-prem domain identities into cloud. But what if I want to connect and collaborate with vendors, service providers? I can onboard their businesses onto my directory. Let us say, for example, we are Cyberways or we want to collaborate with Facebook tomorrow. We can onboard their identities into our ecosystem as part of B2B. But what if there are third party users who we want to onboard into our directory, give them access to our Azure resources through IAM and our back? So we can extend invitations to those users. We can have runbooks in place. We can onboard those users and then manage them through our backend IAM, maybe a short time access as well. So the complete security management of identities or devices or applications or your groups or service accounts or APIs, it could be all done through Entra ID and the capabilities of Entra ID. Okay. So, talking about Sentinel, you must have previously worked with any other SIEM solution. Let's say, for example, you have worked with Logarithm, or you have worked with Splunk or any other SIEM solution. So, basic fundamentals of Microsoft Sentinel is that it is a SIEM solution. At the end of the day, it helps us in security information and event management, collection of logs from various systems of which are in place, whether they are in Azure or they are in Office 365 applications or endpoints which are located across the different cloud footprints that we could have. But what sets it apart is that it's not just theme, it's also a mechanism that helps you to orchestrate security, automate, and respond to threats. That means it's also a SOAR plus SIEM solution. Unlike other SIEM solutions, like we spoke about Logarithm or Splunk, or Manage Engine, Microsoft Sentinel provides cyber threat detection, investigation. It investigates the threats, responds to those threats, and there is proactive hunting of the threats that could be possibly present in your environment, because it's using the capabilities of its theme behavior to collect the logs or data from, let's say, Defender for Cloud, or let's say Office 365, or your email, your Exchange, or your domain controllers, or your other Azure platform, or your SQL databases, or any other workload that you have. So it's collecting the logs. We have investigated, or we have, let's say, we have installed its log collector agents. Basically, on the next slide, we'll check how the log collectors work. So those log collectors use the functionality of its SIEM capability, collect the log, and then it investigates those logs, and it automatically responds to the threats which could be present in your environment or your whole ecosystem. So Microsoft Sentinel also natively incorporates services from Azure. So it incorporates services like log analytics and logic apps, and then it helps you to investigate and detect with its AI capabilities. So it uses both Microsoft Threat Intelligence and its SOAR capabilities. So it is a vast topic. We will have a session particularly on Microsoft Sentinel, integrated to Microsoft Defender, and also integrated into Microsoft Azure Portal. Now, just like you must have used Log Analytic Workspace, and there used to be Log Analytic Agent, which is now deprecated. There is Azure Monitor Workspace, and there is Sentinel Workspace. Now, Sentinel Workspace is something that you create on your subscription. You actually have this workspace which gives you access to various agents or log collectors or data connectors. You push these connectors to or your Office 365 or integrate them through APIs to your workloads or your other solutions, and then it fetches those logs, and you can actually use its SOAR capabilities to manage any threats that could be present showing in those logs. Okay, so next, moving to Microsoft Intune. So far, we were talking about security solutions from cloud perspective. We were talking about Office 365 cloud apps or Sentinel as a SIEM or SOAR solution. But we used to have something like SCCM, okay, or SCVMM. We used to manage solutions. We used to manage our application management used to happen through SCCM. We used to manage the uh, health of health posture of our whole endpoints, whether they are user endpoints like systems or servers. We used to manage those through SCCM. A lot of organizations still doing that, but is there a solution that could be cloud native and could be used to manage the applications or identities or devices those we have registered in Entra through Entra ID? Now we're just discussing about Entra ID. So we have devices which are registered and are present in Entra ID. Can I govern them? Can I go ahead and manage their life cycle for security? Can I go ahead and have any kind of policy in place for conditional access? Or can I go ahead and have a remote uh, self-service assessment on those solutions? I can also use Intune capability as an endpoint security feature, which it has. We could create policies that help us to maintain zero trust with the help of Microsoft Intune. So now Intune also works on basis of a subscription or a license model. Different license models are available. What you could do with Intune is not just manage the devices which are Windows based. You could have its capability extended to iOS or Linux systems, or any other operating system that you must have in use so far. Now, some of the key capabilities of Intune is obviously the user and device management, how it could be leveraged to manage the identities and the lifecycle of the device onboarding, offboarding, or application management on those devices. It could help us to simplify app management and also endpoint management and security, how we could use Intune as an endpoint security solution because of the policies that we could create in Intune. Now, how to onboard our devices to Intune and regulate those. You could use different onboarding techniques. There are script-based, policy-based onboarding techniques for Intune, which are available. And you can also integrate with mobile threat defense to protect your end user mobile devices, which is a very critical part of your organization these days. And of course, you can automate the policy deployment. Having spoken briefly about Intune, I wish we had more time to talk on Intune and other capabilities of Entra ID, but some sort of awareness on Microsoft E3 and E5 subscriptions. Let us say, for example, you are a security leader or you are a CISO and you want to understand how you can leverage Microsoft E3 or E5 security services. So there are a lot of options that are present in E3, but if you want to really take leverage of Microsoft ecosystem, you should go ahead and have Microsoft E5 services. What it helps you to, what it helps you with is something that's not available in E3. Maybe fundamental security is available there, but if you want to go ahead and use Windows ATP, or let's say you want to use communication compliance, or you want to leverage data classification, you want to leverage insider risk management, or Defender for Identity and Defender for Endpoint or Defender for ATP, all these solutions that we spoke about, Microsoft Sentinel, this all comes up with M365 E5 subscription. So we will be happy to talk about more in our further webinars as a detailed discussion on every solution, how we onboard them, what are the prerequisites, how we integrate those into our systems. So I wish time permitted, we could have spoken about that. Every topic is of interest to everybody who works in an IT industry and wants or aspires to be a security or a cybersecurity expert. With that, I would post it back, hand it over to Fatma once again, and room for any questions that we could answer. Thank you for tuning in and listening or going through the slides with me. Over to you, Fatma.
Thank you, Asad. Thank you for that very insightful presentation. We've covered some really valuable insights today. And now it's time for our question and answer. We received some good questions from the audience. Let's go ahead and address them. Um, okay, there are questions here that we'll go through each. And one question from Sumaya. In my experience, configuring Microsoft Defender can sometimes lead to false positive. What's the best way to fine tune it for accuracy?
Yes, it is possible that some of the policies that you have in place through Microsoft Defender, it's a compliance policy and it's evaluating your system that it has something that is a threat to your ecosystem, but it could be a false positive. How you can manage the false positives is by actually understanding the endpoint, where it's located, who is accessing it. Let us say, for example, it's a domain account that has weak credentials, and Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is telling me that this system could be already hacked or it's a compromised machine. Can I go ahead and consider it as an actual positive alert? No, it is an actual domain managed credential. I have to validate from domain controller, but I have to advise the user to go ahead and tighten the security of the credential that has been used.
Thank you. Another one is from Fatima Babar. What strategies does Microsoft recommend for securing SaaS applications and reducing their attack surface?
Thank you. It's a great question. So, for securing SaaS applications, as we just spoke about, we have Defender for Cloud Apps. Defender for Cloud Apps is a regulatory security framework that encompasses all the SaaS applications that are available in M365 ecosystem. And you can use its features and capabilities to reduce the attack surface.
Perfect. Another question, I'll read them all together. This is from Arif Ali. And his question is, how does Entra ID differ from traditional on-premise Active Directory? With Entra ID, can we be able to perform group policy creation and manage users and devices in OUs?
That's a great question, Arif. So, yes, there is a fundamental difference between on-premise Active Directory and Entra ID. Now, on-premise Active Directory is a secured, encrypted database file. It's called ntds.dis. So it resides in the domain controller when you install the feature of Active Directory on the server. But Entra ID is a flat system. So you just sync your identities, and in Entra ID, you will see all the users present in flat system without any OU categorization. Can you manage group policies through Entra ID? No, you still can leverage Azure. You can leverage Azure, not Azure, Windows Active Directory services for group policy. But if you want to have group policies in Azure, you should use ADDS, that is Azure provided domain services, Active Directory domain services. That is a different concept than Entra ID, but that helps you to provide, create group policies and manage the user or the devices through those group policies. That is different than Entra ID. And yes, it also helps you in managing the users and devices in OUs.
Okay. Another one, what are the different Entra ID licensing options and how do I choose the right one for my organization?
Sure. So Entra ID has different licensing options. Let's say, for example, whenever an organization creates Office 365 or Azure services, it can register its domain, and 500 identities could be synced without paying to Microsoft. That is free plan. But if you want to go ahead and leverage its capability to your user base, which is more than 500 identities, let's say, for example, you have 1,000 or 10,000 users, you should go ahead and use P1 or P2 capabilities, because that gives you an actual edge on managing these identities through PIM, RBAC, and IAM capabilities. So how can you choose that? Based on your user base, based on the actual size of your organization.
Okay, and another one is what types of devices are supported by Intune? An example, Android, iOS, Windows, Mac OS.
Right. So with Intune, we can have device management for all the type of OS flavors, whether they are resorted to Android, Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Ubuntu, Linux. So you can have policies in place for these devices. You can have these devices registered through endpoint agents, Intune agents, into the Intune admin center. You can manage all those operating systems.
Perfect. Another one is from again Fatima Babar. Can Intune automate security responses if a device becomes non-compliant or is suspected of being compromised?
Okay, so can Intune automate security responses? Intune can go ahead and manage the security boundaries on the devices. Let us say, for example, you have a corporate device which is outside of your geography where you are located, and some user is located from another geography. You can have Intune policies in place to protect the action that user takes on the device as part of their roles and responsibilities. But if this device is compromised, yes, I can quarantine the device so that there is no lateral movement path that can exploit or could be exposed to other devices on the network. I can use Intune to offboard the device from my entire corporate network, and I can wipe the device data also. And I can have Intune capabilities, the logs from Intune pushed into Sentinel. As we just spoke about, Sentinel has SIEM and SOAR capabilities. Then that device could be also managed in terms of investigation and threat management.
Thank you very much, Asad. I think this is the last question that we will be that you will be answering.
No problem.
I've read that zero trust is the future of cybersecurity. Do you think Microsoft's current security stack fully supports a zero trust architecture?
Yes, and absolutely. Microsoft current frameworks with respect to the well-architected framework, Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark (MCSB) and Microsoft Reference Architecture (MCRA) and Zero Trust Rapid Action Platform. These are all provided to the user or the business that wants to propagate into cloud. When somebody propagates into cloud or moves into the cloud as part of the migration, we want to secure our business and ensure there is zero trust. As an example, I have on-premise environment of my business and I have a cloud instance of my business. My on-premise instance of my business, that is the on-prem data center, as per Microsoft, is classified as a negative trust point. Even though it's my own business, I should have IPsec tunnel in between my on-prem and Azure. And then the other frameworks with respect to the uh, landing zone that we create in Azure, it's all in line to the zero trust, how spokes connect with each other, and how the network, how the user connects from one system to another system, or how systems connect to each other between on-prem and cloud. This whole architecture, when we create it, it's in line with the zero trust architecture.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of today's webinar, guys. A huge thank you for Azad Sophie for sharing his expertise and to all of you for joining and engaging with us. But before we close, here are some few key takeaways from today's session. Microsoft Cloud Security Stack offers a robust suite of solutions to protect businesses from modern threats. And Cyberways also provides expert guidance and implementation services to help businesses maximize their Microsoft security investments. So, if you'd like to explore how Cyberways can support your organization, Please feel free to reach out to us via info@cyberwaysglobal.com. And again, thank you so much for being a part of this session. Have a great day and please stay secure.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Fatima. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a good day.